They tried to silence him. They erased his name. But he rebuilt from nothing. He fought every algorithm. They tried again and failed. Now he's back, stronger. From blackout to spotlight, he's at the White House, at the top of his game. Franchi lives.
You are about to enter another dimension, the dimension of truth, unfiltered and uncensored. Welcome to the Raw Feed with Gary Franchi.
Tonight, lines are crossing. Crossing becomes danger. On the Raw Feed.
It all connects.
The Raw Feed starts now. The Raw Feed starts now.
Welcome to the Raw Feed. I'm Gary Franchi, coming to you live from the heart of America. Unfiltered truth to millions on YouTube. Hit those donation links below. Every contribution powers our gear. Every contribution keeps the party going. Help me help you. Hit those donation links. YouTube channel memberships. Special acknowledgement in the fellowship. Your super chats keep me standing. Your Rumble rants fuel every round.
Say hello to super chats.
Spread the intel. Every repost extends our reach.
Super chats fuel this spectacle. Your Rumble rants give me strength.
24/7 members-only community, behind-the-scenes discussions.
Connect with fellow patriots.
My mama always said, life is like sharing the truth. Text this stream to your friends.
What if I told you the app is real? Download the Next News Network app. Android users, take the Google Play path. iPhone users, App Store awaits.
The institutions built to protect you have been captured by the people who despise you. Good evening, America. I'm Gary Franchi, and this is the Raw Feed, live, unfiltered, and unafraid. And tonight, we're going to show you exactly what that capture looks like. From the halls of Congress to the courtrooms of the deep state, from the burning streets of New York City to the blood-soaked highways of the Biden border crisis. And from the radical classrooms of America's universities to the living rooms of families now being told that they are the disease. First, let me take you back exactly 242 years ago. On this very date, November 25th, 1783, it's known as Evacuation Day. On that morning, General George Washington marched triumphantly into New York City as the last British troops boarded their ships and sailed out of the harbor. The Revolutionary War was over. The occupation had ended. And for the first time, Americans stood on free soil in a liberated city. Well, tonight, I want you to hold that image in your mind, because what we're about to see is a very different New York, a city where mobs of 50 cars invade quiet residential neighborhoods in the dead of night, where families are beaten in their own front yards, where security guards have their vehicles torched, and where 911 operators tell terrified citizens to call 311. The complaints hotline, while the chaos rages outside their windows. George Washington liberated New York. 2 centuries later, its leaders have surrendered it. But that is just one front in tonight's battle. In Washington, the Seditious Six scandal is exploding. 6 lawmakers, veterans who swore oaths to this nation, they were caught on camera urging active duty troops to disobey the commander-in-chief. And now the Pentagon has confirmed it has the authority to recall Senator Mark Kelly to active duty and court-martial him under military law. The FBI is scheduling interviews. Subpoenas may follow. And what started as a political stunt may end in a military tribunal. Meanwhile, the deep state just protected its own. James Comey, Letitia James, walking free after a Clinton-appointed judge threw out the cases against them. But don't pop that champagne yet. Attorney General Pam Bondi has announced an immediate appeal. Legal experts say that the dismissal wasn't on the merits, and we're learning the prosecutor may have been deliberately sabotaged from within the very agency that she served. At the border, the body count is climbing. An 8-year-old girl named Mora Gerety is dead, killed by an illegal immigrant who should have never been in this country. Sanctuary networks are locking their doors to obstruct federal agents, and Gavin Newsom just revoked 17,000 commercial driver's licenses issued to illegal immigrants, but only after deadly crashes forced his hand. And in Minnesota, a taxpayer-funded in Minnesota, a taxpayer-funded program at the University of Minnesota is now declaring American families a public health emergency. They call it the Whiteness Pandemic. They're telling parents to re-educate themselves and their children. They're linking to materials from radical activists, and your tax dollars through the National Institute of Mental Health helped fund the whole thing. 5 stories, 1 theme. The people in power have abandoned you. And in some cases, they've declared war on you. But tonight, we're going to expose every single one of them. This is the Raw Feed, and we're just getting started. Let's welcome you to the show. We got Deborah and Jerome and Karen and Pothead Kenny, Angela, Light Warrior and Karen and Cher. We got Karen Hansen, Ron the Don, Cindy in Buffalo. Who else is here tonight? Checking in, let's see. We've got Mark K.H. Twags, Roger Thacker, Kim Weig, Isabel, Betty Winters, Light Warrior, Scontech, Second Chance, Sassafras. What's up? Mark H., Trish Killian, Pam Boyer, Carla Contreras, Chooch McGee. No shades of gray. Oh, love you guys. Love you guys. We're going to get into the news. This Seditious Six stuff is just getting out of control. What's up, Carla, over there on Rumble? I see you. I see you checking in. And Tom B420 dropping the first super chat of the night, it looks like. Yes, it is. The first of many. Thank you, Tom. We're only $90 away from our goal tonight. There's only one way to get there. You. All right, let's get into it, Brian. We got some news to cover. A sitting United States senator could be dragged back into military uniform and forced to stand trial before a military tribunal. That's not speculation. That's not rumor. That's now an official option being weighed by the Pentagon. The Seditious Six scandal just became something that nobody in Washington saw coming, and tonight I'm going to show you exactly how Senator Mark Kelly went from astronaut hero to potential court-martial defendant. What he did on camera may cost him everything. And here's what's at stake. Senator Mark Kelly is a retired Navy captain. Under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, retired officers can still be recalled to active duty and prosecuted for conduct prejudicial to good order and discipline. The Pentagon has publicly confirmed that this is on the table. We're talking about a precedent that hasn't been set in modern American history. A sitting senator hauled before a military court for undermining the commander-in-chief. Now, if this moves forward, it sends a message to every politician in Washington. Your veteran status doesn't make you untouchable. The FBI is now scheduling interviews with all 6 lawmakers. Arizona Senate Republicans have published a formal letter demanding accountability, and the White House says Kelly's video was an attempt to intimidate 1.3 million active duty service members. This is no longer politics. This is a constitutional collision. Now, before we move forward, I want to take a moment to speak directly to you, the people who watch this show, who share our work, and keep us going every single day. This time of year especially, we stop and reflect on how grateful we are for this community. Now, none of this is possible without you, your encouragement, your comments, your prayers, and your support. If you'd like to help us keep fighting, keep producing, and keep telling the truth the only way that independent media can, we deeply appreciate your support by giving with your heart at the link in the description. It's on the screen right there. And if you can't donate, we get it. You can still help in a huge way. Just share the link to this video with a friend or family member. Text it to someone who needs to hear the truth today. Post it in one of your Facebook groups. Those shares make a massive difference for us. We're thankful for you, and we see you, and we could not do this without you. But here's where it gets even more explosive. Senator Ruben Gallego accidentally let slip a script was distributed before the infamous video was recorded. His exact words, the script got to me, a pre-written directive, a coordinated message, a template urging troops to reject the president's authority. And that's why conservatives are now demanding subpoenas for every email, every text, every communication tied to that video. CIA officers told Jesse Waters this was part of a larger hoax designed to condition the country for a manufactured crisis. The Seditious Six weren't warning anybody. They were executing a larger plan. Here's the letter from the Arizona Senate Republicans. The Pentagon has to investigate a sitting U.S. senator for undermining military discipline. That tells you everything you need to know. Senator Mark Kelly crossed the line, and Arizona lawmakers aren't staying quiet. Here is the letter. The decision to use military service members as political props in a video implying that the commander-in-chief may issue illegal orders crosses a line that should have never been crossed. Your participation in this effort has understandably alarmed veterans, military families, and elected leaders who value the integrity and stability of our armed forces. By leaving unlawful orders vague and undefined, the video aims to plant suspicion before any order has even been given. The unmistakable implication is that President Donald J. Trump is preparing to issue illegal commands. This insinuation is false. Worse, it encourages doubt in the chain of command itself, a foundational threat to military discipline and national readiness. This is the letter that was sent to the Honorable Mark Kelly, Senator Kelly. Getting the letter signed. Multiple 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15 signatures. Oh, yeah, he's getting the message. And just 24 hours ago, out of the White House, another message was delivered.
Active duty service. The White House is supportive of the Department of War's investigation into Senator Mark Kelly, and I think what Senator Mark Kelly was actually trying to do was intimidate the 1.3 million active duty service members who are currently serving in our United States Armed Forces with that video that he and his Democrat colleagues put out. Senator Mark Kelly well knows the rules of the military and the respect that one must have for the chain of command, and that all lawful orders are presumed to be legal by our service members. You can't have a functioning military if there is disorder and chaos within the ranks, and that's what these Democrat members were encouraging. It's very clear, and not a single one of them, since they've been pressed by the media, and I'll give you guys credit for that, can point to a single illegal order that this administration has given down, because it does not exist. They knew what they were doing in this video, and Senator Mark Kelly and all of them should be held accountable for that. The White House is supporting.
Sounds like they will all be held accountable very, very soon. Here is the letter issued November 25th, 2025, and published by the Department of War, a memorandum for the Secretary of the Navy. Subject: potentially unlawful conduct by Captain Mark E. Kelly, U.S. Navy, retired. Damn. This is serious, man. Oh, boy. Let's zoom in on this. The Department of War recently received information regarding potentially unlawful comments made by Captain retired Mark E. Kelly in a public video on or about November 18th, 2025. I'm referring this and any other related matters for your review, consideration, and disposition as you deem appropriate. Please provide me a brief on the outcome of your review by no later than December 10th, 2025. And that date is just around the corner. And this, I mean, the letterhead right there, Secretary of War. A memo for the Secretary of the Navy. Signed, Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War. Damn, it's on. This just in, Mark Kelly under Department of War investigation for something genuinely unprecedented. Sitting senators telling active military to prepare for disobeying their commander-in-chief, not over specific legal orders they can cite, but theoretical ones they imagine might come. It's not oversight, it's sedition light wrapped in patriotic language. In the video Kelly and 5 Democrats posted wasn't standard military education about lawful orders. They spoke directly to members of the military and intelligence community, warning of enormous stress and threats from right here at home. When pressed, none of them can name a single order. They just want soldiers thinking about resistance. Here's why this matters. Congress doesn't train troops. The executive branch does. Lawmakers crossing into military command structure while suggesting the president might issue illegal orders without evidence is not brave. It's extremely dangerous. It undermines the chain of command based on partisan speculation. Pete Hegseth's uniform inspection jab was petty but revealing. Kelly can't even display his medals correctly while lecturing about military obligations. The Department of War reviewing potential Uniform Code of Military Justice violations is not intimidation, it's accountability. Military retirees remain subject to military law, especially when potentially inciting insubordination. Kelly's service record is impressive. His political stunt was not. Hegseth memo, as you just saw, is now on the table. Here's this from Representative Adelicia Grijalva, says that Senator Kelly was right to inform people of their rights. What do you think?
Disagrees with him.
So the Pentagon is threatening to court-martial your home state senator, Mark Kelly. Now the FBI is looking to interview him after he and other lawmakers called for troops to refuse illegal orders. What's your take on what you see happening here?
You know, this is just another attempt at Trump trying to silence anyone who disagrees with him. Senator Kelly was right to inform people of their rights. And the fact that if it is an illegal order, you don't have to follow it.
So the Pentagon is threatening to court-martial your home.
But what was implied? And speaking of being thankful, we have this from our commander-in-chief.
On behalf of the First Lady and the entire Trump family, I want to wish all Americans a very, very happy Thanksgiving. It's a great time of the year, and our country is doing really well economically like we've never done before.
I'm thankful that President Trump is in the Oval Office and that he is about to open up a can of whoop ass on all these senators. Everyone's talking about it. The Carosphere breaking. Pentagon just opened a full misconduct investigation of Senator Mark Kelly for telling U.S. troops disobey orders from the commander-in-chief, recalled active duty, court-martial now on the table. Hegseth calls it seditious and dangerous. Over on Rapid Response 47, they were reposting, which is something I don't normally see them do, so this is quite out of the ordinary. We've got a couple of the reposts that they did, and I'm going to play some of them for you here. Here's Graham Allen is one of the reposts. To all the morons out there, it's simple. Mark Kelly's guilty of sedition.
Looking into... All right, hi. This video goes out to all the morons out there. Mark Kelly, Senator Kelly, is guilty of sedition. Why? Because he was influencing our troops to question and or turn against and or cause division with our commander-in-chief. Now that he is in trouble and the Secretary of War and the Department of War are looking into possibly bringing him back on active duty to try him underneath the UCMJ, now all of a sudden all of the libtard Democrats are saying all he did was remind the troops that they have an obligation to disobey an unlawful order. Well, no duh. Every service member ever knows this. But no unlawful order has been given. So why even make the video in the first place? He made the video along with others that the Department of War can't touch, and you're lucky they can't. He made the video to seed doubt within our troops of our commander-in-chief, to seed disloyalty with our troops towards our commander-in-chief, to seed disobedience in our troops towards our Secretary of War. Senator Kelly is guilty of sedition, and he will be found so. And I hope they throw the book at him. And for all of you morons that are like, what's wrong with the combat veteran telling other veterans that they should disobey an unlawful, unconstitutional order because that's the way it should be? Because no unlawful order has been given. So the only reason you made that video in the first place is because you want to sow division and disloyalty and possible disobedience with the troops and their commander-in-chief. Thank you for your attention to this matter. All right.
Thank you for your attention to this matter. Yep, Mark Kelly, I hope you're paying attention. 8 hours ago, we have this from Fox News. FBI scheduling interviews with 6 lawmakers who encourage military members to refuse illegal orders. Jim Schultz on the Seditious Six. Our officers are listed folks. They all know they're not to engage in illegal activity. This was political gamesmanship.
On the part of those, our officers are listed folks. They all know that they are not to engage in activity that could be considered illegal. This was nothing but political gamesmanship on the part of those senators. They weren't helping our enlisted folks in the military. They weren't making them more safe. As a matter of fact, they're probably causing, some unrest and some confusion in the ranks. They answer to the officers and then up the chain to the generals. And folks know what their obligations are. And those all carry downstream. They didn't need a United States senator to tell them that. That was a complete political gamesmanship. And I'm not saying the president's reaction was right. I'm not saying that this investigation should take place. But I'm saying from the get-go, this is bad all the way across the board for
Let me help Senator Slot get out here.
Oh, yeah. Bad across the board. And it's just beginning. Leftists are bleeding that the Seditious Six only talked about illegal orders. Looks like we have some reaction over here on CNN with Caitlin Collins with David Frum giving an example of an illegal order that, according to the left, soldiers are duty-bound to resist. The legal order was changing the name of the DOD to the Department of War. Wow.
A few years before that, where Secretary Hegseth has issued these tweets in which he said the Department of War is going to prosecute Senator Kelly. And then you had a clip at the top of your show from the White House press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, saying the Secretary of War, the Department of War would never issue an illegal order. Well, calling it the Department of War is an illegal order. Congress arranged the Department of Defense in 1947. It passed a law in 1949 titling the Department of Defense the Department of Defense. It did so because a few years before that, the United States had hanged a bunch of Japanese generals for the crime of waging offensive war and wanted to make clear that the United States would fight only in self-defense, according to the rules of international.
He thinks that by Trump issued an illegal order by renaming the Department of Defense. That's the illegal order. Okay, troops, don't call it that then. Disobey. Call it the Department of Defense. Is that the best you can do, bro? Of course, this is CNN carrying water.
Law that the United States had imposed on Japan and Nazi Germany. Every time that, in violation of act of Congress, the secretary makes up these titles for himself, Secretary of Partying, Secretary of War, whatever he calls himself, those are illegal orders too. And so they're not the most morally offensive illegal orders, but they are illegal. And every time he gives himself his title, he's proving he is willing to issue illegal orders because the department was organized and named by act of Congress. The president unilaterally cannot change that.
Well, and this is something that Hegseth was questioned about, I believe, by Alyssa Slotkin during his confirmation hearing.
Oh, man, they are reaching. They are reaching with that one. My goodness, here's Tom Fitton weighing in. The great Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch. What unlawful orders has Trump given that justify the Seditious Six releasing that dangerous video?
They're not fooling anyone. First of all, what unlawful orders is President Trump given or is set to give that would warrant a video like this? What they are implying quite directly is that lawful orders that they don't like, Democrats or leftists or progressives, whatever you want to call them, should be ignored by our military, should be ignored by civilian intelligence officials. So if this isn't a sedition or calling for effectively a military coup, I don't know what you would do other than being more direct in doing so. So in my view, they're fooling no one. It's certainly encouraging in a dangerous fashion sedition against the president, mutiny, whatever you want to call it. And they are using their status as veterans to provide, I think, dangerous and bad faith advice to members of our military. They're not fooling anyone.
No, they're not. They can go on as many radio shows and TV shows and friendly media outlets and try to explain it away, but you can't put the genie back in the bottle, right? Pandora's box is open. The seditious six undermine President Trump as commander-in-chief. That is a crime. Mark Kelly could face additional charges under the UCMJ, according to Secretary of War. They knew what they were doing and should pay the piper, says Jim Hansen.
Some poor. Interesting. Let's welcome to the show U.S. Army Special Forces veteran Jim Hansen. Jim, I wonder if Senator Slotkin knows that A Few Good Men was a fictional story. What say you?
I'm shocked. I was unaware as well. These people knew exactly what they were doing. They were using the credibility of their offices and their previous experience in the military or the intelligence community to try and convince some poor soul who's currently serving to throw away their career pretending that President Trump had issued an illegal order. Now, in that video, they weren't talking if you get an illegal order. They said things like, you must disobey illegal orders. You know, the threat is domestic, no longer foreign. You must be brave, those kind of things. They were not talking about the future. They were trying to suborn sedition, and now they're being held accountable.
You know, Jim, it feels like this could backfire big time on Democrats.
I think it already has. Any normal person knows what they were trying to do. And now, out of them, you know, they're all under the potential penalty of U.S. code that says you are not allowed to undermine good order and discipline in the military. But Senator Mark Kelly's a retired officer. He's still bound by the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which has much more stringent rules, and he could be held accountable for that. Pete Hegseth put out a tweet today saying that he might open an investigation and bring him in and call him on the carpet for that.
Yeah, would you think that appropriate?
I think it's absolutely appropriate because that's what they were trying to do. They were undermining the commander-in-chief. They wanted to cause a problem for President Trump to be able to execute the lawful orders, and holding them accountable for that right now will tell other people not to do the same.
Interesting. Let's welcome...
Yep, it's happening, folks. They are going to regret sitting down in front of the camera that day. Here's another one of those posts that Rapid Response reposted today from Ashley. Since everyone else is sharing, here's my 2 cents on the Seditious Six. It's a dangerous and slippery slope that's being used by the Democrats for political gain and to sow seeds of confusion among our military.
Which we all know. Since everybody's giving their 2 cents on the Seditious Six, I'm going to add in my 2 cents. As a former Navy air traffic controller, let me be clear. Veterans in Congress should never be telling active duty service members which orders to follow and which orders not to follow. That is not their job. What they want to do and what they're trying to do, which we all know, is to plant that little seed of doubt in our service members' minds, especially our junior service members who rely heavily on clear and concise instructions and a clear chain of command. This is a very dangerous and slippery slope. And I think they know that, and that's why they've done what they've done. But they need to go focus on their job in Congress. Are they doing a good job? Probably not. The approval rating is like super low. And let the commander-in-chief focus on giving the orders to our active duty service members and our troops. That is how the chain of command works. They need to learn to respect the uniform, especially if they've worn it. They should know better. They do know better, but they're doing this as a political game, and it's actually really sick. Respect the chain of command, respect the uniform, and focus on your job. Since everybody's giving their 2 cents on the seditious.
Jesse Waters on the Seditious Six. He talked to 2 CIA officers who said it was a part of a larger hoax. Oh, boy.
Tenths of a percentage. I sort of wanted her to keep talking. I mean, what foolishness. This is a woman who won a year ago by 0.3 of a percentage point in Michigan, by 19,000 votes out of 5 million cast. And she speaks like this: I want the people of Michigan, Arizona to know their senators are interested in sound bites and social media screeds rather than facts and figures.
So I talked to 2 CIA officers who said that this is a part of a larger hoax, and what they're doing here is they're trying to condition the country to prepare for something bad that's about to happen at the hands of Donald Trump. It's straight out of the CIA playbook. It's a destabilization operation where you get people to mistrust each other. And you do this because she's an analyst. And as an analyst, she would make sure what propaganda operations were successful, which ones weren't. So she knows what works. So the first part of the video, you establish authority. I'm CIA, I'm military, you need to trust us. Second part of the video, they introduce the threat, and the threat's not foreign, the threat's domestic, the threat's Donald Trump. And then at the end, they introduce the solution. What's the solution? You resist, you say no. But they don't give an option. They say this is an obligation for you to do. Now, she is being run because she didn't come up with this herself. She's a Brennan acolyte, and you usually don't have congressmen and senators doing anything together. They kind of hate each other. So in order to organize this had to have had some sort of handler telling her what to do.
Oh, yeah.
And it was risky because nothing like this has ever been done in the history of the country. And you can even tell because the media was skeptical and they couldn't answer the question. So they hadn't even been read in on the operation. You see them fumbling and stumbling. And I'm glad that the U.S. military is now investigating this guy, Kelly, because this is what we expect from Donald Trump 2.0. You can't have the deep state interfering with a duly elected presidency and get away with it. You got to draw the line in the sand, and you have to make examples out of people.
And Mark Kelly will be the first example. Here's Air Force vet Buzz Patterson on the Seditious Six.
Veteran and hey everybody, this is Buzz Patterson. I'm a retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, retired Air Force pilot, combat veteran, and at one time I was the military aide to President Bill Clinton and carried the nuclear football and actually lived in the White House. So I've been around. I was actually, during my military service, deployed to 70 countries and fought in 3 wars. So I feel like I've got a dog in this hunt. I am very appalled at what the Seditious Six has done with their video. I think it's a violation of their oaths of office, and especially in the case of Senator Mark Kelly, I believe it's a violation of the UCMJ, and I hope that President Trump and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth hold them accountable. They are violating, and they are politically using their positions to undercut the command of President Donald J. Trump, and they're circumventing the chain of command. Congress and members of Senate are not in the chain of command. President Trump is, however, as our commander-in-chief. So I fully support going forward with whatever prosecutions are warranted and legitimate, and I think they are. On these individuals. They use their positions, military and in the intelligence community, to expose, I think, and put at risk those of us who serve in uniform. I think that what's going to happen is because they violated the military chain of command, people are going to die. They undercut the underpinnings of the military, which is good order and faith and trust in their leadership. And in my estimation, what they did was treasonous and seditionist, and I hope they are prosecuted to the full extent. Again, my name is Buzz Patterson. I served in combat. I've served for 20 years, and I am outraged by what has happened by the Democrats, and I fear for what's going to happen to our young soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines if they choose to violate what is a legal order, which will ruin their lives and ruin their careers. Thank God, guys. God bless. See ya.
God bless you too, brother. Here's more. This is out of the CNN newsroom. Trump and Hegseth, Paul Rykoff says, Trump and Hegseth crossed the Rubicon today. How funny is that? No, I believe it was those 6 that crossed the Rubicon. He writes, their attack on veteran Senator Mark Kelly thrusts America to a new dangerous place. Oh, okay, so you're going to attack the people who are going to hold him accountable, not the people that initiated the undermining of the commander-in-chief? He writes, not just for Kelly, but also for 2 million military retirees in this country. All Americans should be alarmed and outraged. Yeah, we should be alarmed and outraged that we have senators, congressmen, former members of the intelligence community openly calling for undermining President Trump's lawful orders
in America.
With us now, Paul Rykoff, founder and president of Independent Veterans of America. Paul, great to see you.
Good to see you.
What message do you think this sends to threaten to recall Senator Kelly for a court-martial?
I think it's exactly what Trump said. He wants to set an example. And Senator Kelly is a noted veteran. He's respected by people from all parties. He's an astronaut. He's a combat Navy aviator. And I think what Trump wants to say is if I can come after him, I can come after anyone. He's made it pretty clear he wants to come after his political enemies. He wants to intimidate people. I think it's important to remember there are 2 million military retirees in America. So he can come after this guy for his political speech or for something he doesn't agree with. I think he's trying to send a very effective and chilling message, not to senators, but to average people all across the country. And that's why this is so dangerous, so outrageous, so ridiculous, because it's about much more than just these 6 members. This is about free speech in America for 2 million military retirees.
That's not free speech, dude. That is not free speech. The Seditious Six told our troops to revolt against the president. There's one problem. Everything they're fighting is imaginary. Patrick Bet-David going on with Jesse Waters. Listen.
They don't realize, I think normally they think they can get away with comments like this until they face a guy named President Donald Trump who sued and won money against George Stephanopoulos, YouTube, Twitter. How many other companies you want me to talk about that? He won so many different lawsuits about to go after BBC. They don't realize they're going after somebody that's probably going to hold them accountable. And Mark Kelly, obviously, thank you for his service. He wrote a long tweet today. It's very obvious he's writing the tweet in response to say, here's my resume. I'm sorry I said this. Don't come after me. I'm a very important patriot. I love America. And on the other side, Hexet is like, you already crossed the line with the comments here. Just go read history with what happens with this. They crossed the line, and I highly doubt this administration is going to let this one go. I think...
Nope, they're not going to let this slide. It's happening. Oh, this guy, Ruben Gallego. Hey, Pete, we won't be intimidated. This guy looks like he's been busy crying in his cry closet.
Department of Defense. This is fucking insane. We should all point out how fucking insane this is. Hey, this is Ruben Gallego. I'm traveling through Arizona right now, and I just received the news that the Department of Defense is starting investigation against my seatmate, Mark Kelly. This is fucking insane. We should all point out how fucking insane this is.
How many F-bombs are you going to drop, dude?
These guys are trying to say that they're not acting like fascists. They're not trying to give as much power to this president as a king, and they should stop acting like it.
What? He's following the law? I mean, that makes him a fascist? I don't understand. I don't know. Drop another F-bomb. Make yourself sound really important.
Mark Kelly's a patriot. There's no reason why they're going after him. He was doing his duty and just reminding people about their rights as service members. And,
Yeah, keep trying, bro. Keep trying, dude. Keep coping, brother. Yeah, this party's not over yet, dude. Conservatives are calling for all communications to be subpoenaed after Senator Ruben Gallego reveals a seditious script went out for the infamous video calling the troops to rebel. The script got to me. He even admits it. The same guy crying in his car, admits it on CNN.
Life. Did you consider, why were you not part of this video?
Yeah, actually, so I was part of the first video. The second video is by the time the script got to me and it was in the middle of a lot was going on, I just didn't have time to actually record it, but I'm 100% in alignment with them altogether. This stuff happened. It just happened not to end up being a recording. There's really no other 3D chess to this.
The logistics of human life.
Yep.
All right, fair enough. So what message would you send?
So that's hilarious. He just wasn't able to get to the video, so he's not going to be held accountable. It's funny because if you look at what he's wearing in this CNN interview, it's the same clothing he's wearing as he's driving around crying in his car, making excuses for his seatmate. But the genie's out of the bottle. And here is the hammer blow. The Pentagon has confirmed it has the legal authority, not through fascism, but the law, to recall Mark Kelly to active duty and try him before a military tribunal. Not a civilian court, a military court, where the rules are different, where the consequences are real. You saw Air Force veteran Buzz Patterson called it treasonous, demanding prosecution to the fullest extent. Jim Hansen said undermining the commander-in-chief is a crime. Kelly should pay the piper. Well, tonight, the Seditious Six scandal is no longer controversy. It's a federal, military, and constitutional crisis. So why does it matter? It matters because it exposes a dangerous truth. Elected officials believe they're above the law. 6 lawmakers, hiding behind their veteran status, released a video urging active duty troops to disobey the president. They claim they were warning against illegal orders, but of course no illegal orders existed. Even their own allies couldn't name one. What they did was plant seeds of insubordination inside the greatest military on earth. And now the Pentagon is responding. The Department of War is responding. The FBI is investigating. And Mark Kelly, a man who once flew in space, may soon find himself grounded in a courtroom facing charges under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. You see, this is accountability in action. So here's my question for the comments section. Should Mark Kelly be court-martialed for his role in the Seditious Six video? Yes or no? Drop your answer in the comments, and if you want to wear your patriotism on your sleeve, check out the Next News merch shop. You'll find it linked in the description. Well, we're not done yet. We got to get to the Comey, the latest on the Comey topic, so don't go anywhere. I saw you thinking about clicking out, but don't you dare. We do have to do a quick acknowledgement of those who support this program by, like Donna Bravo, a super sticker for $4.99. Ruby Hoove granting some memberships to 5 new members. Thank you very much for that. And then a big one came in from Thomas. Gary, love your show. Keep it raw. I've always only watched your shorter vids. Didn't know until last night you had a live show. Here's 50% of your, what is that, a cupcake or something? God bless you. Have an awesome Thanksgiving. Thank you, Thomas, for the $49.99. Northlander dropping $10. Give a hoot. Don't pollute, he says. And Rob Stoops gave $5, technically until the EO is ratified, for the name of the Department of War. Dude's right. Well, sure, perhaps he is. But to use that as an example of one of the orders that President Trump issued that was illegal is a far cry from a proper example. We're at $79.98. And we're going into the Comey Tish James topic right now, so don't go anywhere. More big news is on the horizon. Brian, let's rock and roll. The establishment is celebrating tonight. James Comey and Letitia James. Yes, they may have something to be thankful for this Thanksgiving because a judge let them walk free after a federal judge threw out the charges against them. But before those champagne corks stop popping, you need to hear what's really going on behind the scenes. Because this case isn't over. It's only getting started, and what we're now learning about how the dismissal happened is going to piss you off. The system didn't fail. It worked exactly as designed, to protect its own. The evidence is now coming out, and it points to something far darker than incompetence. And here's what's really at stake. If James Comey and Letitia James can escape accountability, then the message to every deep state operator is crystal clear. You're untouchable. The rule of law becomes a weapon for the powerful and a trap for everyone else. But there's more. We're now learning that the attorney handling the case, Lindsay Halligan, wasn't just overwhelmed. According to legal analyst Hans Mankel, she was deliberately left isolated, unsupported, and set up to fail because the people inside the DOJ who were supposed to help prosecute the deep state had zero interest in actually holding anyone accountable. Are you surprised? You see, that's not incompetence. That's called sabotage from within. And if this stands, no one in the permanent government will ever face justice again. And when the system protects its own and justice becomes a two-tiered game, you have to ask, what else are they lying about? That's why I trust C60 Evo. While the establishment pushes products designed to keep you dependent, C60 Evo is the real deal. I take it every single morning. It's known for helping with energy, mental clarity, faster recovery, and fighting inflammation and oxidative stress. So this holiday season, they're offering their gift sets at 40% off when you grab 6 bundles. Each bundle includes their activated advanced facial serum. It's like youth in a bottle. Plus their breakthrough C60 Evo olive oil. I drink it. I love it. It's delicious and it's super, super healthy. Now, these are premium gifts that people actually get excited about. The offer is not on their website. It's only available through my link exclusively for our Next News viewers. So go to c60evo.com/NNN and grab yours before they are gone. But here's what the media won't tell you. Attorney General Pam Bondi is not backing down. She just announced an immediate appeal to hold Comey and James accountable. Her words were direct. We will be taking all available legal action. No one is above the law. And legal expert Jonathan Turley is now warning that Comey and James are not out of the woods yet. Meanwhile, Julie Kelly is calling out the judiciary itself, a rogue, out-of-control branch that encroaches on executive power on a weekly basis. Jack Posobiec dropping a truth bomb everyone needed to hear. Did you think you could just put charges on the deep state and the system would allow it? Oh, yes. And then we're finding out another judge has just blocked a presidential pardon from President Trump. This from Nick Sortor. Federal judge issues an injunction blocking President Trump's pardon of Gobble from taking effect. Gobble has been ordered to report to the butcher immediately. This was the presidential pardon, which is customary by the president every Thanksgiving.
Are you ready? Gobble, I just want to tell you this very important. You are hereby unconditionally pardoned.
And now we are learning an injunction has been placed on that pardon, and it will now officially be served at the Thanksgiving dinner celebration for the deep state operatives behind Comey and James skating free. Dennis Neal writes, quite the twofer for this judge. Judges are supposed to be assigned randomly, but this one, some gets 2 of the highest profile Trump cases and rules against him, but of course, imperialist judiciary. Alan Sanders' show, 1 hour ago, they make this point. A Clinton-appointed federal judge, a Clinton-appointed federal judge just made history by dismissing the criminal case against Comey and James on a never-before-used improper appointment technicality. A ruling that reeks of deep state protection. AG Pam Bondi is already appealing and vowing to get to these cases back on track, plus Senator Mark Kelly may be recalled to active duty. Yes, that is a Clinton judge. And more on the pardons from the White House. Just a few hours ago, President Trump had some remarks.
I was going to call the turkeys being pardoned today go by the names of Gobble and Waddle. When I first saw their pictures, I thought we should send them, I shouldn't say this. I was going to call them Chuck and Nancy. But then I realized I wouldn't be pardoning them. I would never pardon those 2 people. I wouldn't pardon them. I wouldn't care what Melania told me. Darling, I think it would be a nice thing to do. I won't do it, darling. The turkey.
President Trump, man. You got to love him. President Trump, speaking of the pardon, says an investigation has shown Biden used an auto pen for last year's turkey pardon.
Before going any further, I want to make an important announcement because you remember last year, after a thorough and very rigorous investigation by Pam Bondi and all of the people at Department of Justice, the FBI, the CIA, the White House counsel's office, and the Department of everything. We have a department of everything. You know what that is? I think that's called the White House. Into a terrible situation caused by a man named Sleepy Joe Biden. He used an auto pen last year for the turkey's pardon. So I have the official duty to determine, and I have determined that last year's turkey pardons are totally invalid, as are the pardons of about every other person that was pardoned other than, where's Hunter? No, Hunter's was good. That was the one pardon, Pam, that was good, right? The rest of them are all invalid. I don't know what the hell you're going to do about that, but that's, now we're going to take a little of the joking. That is a mess. But they're hereby null and void. The turkeys known as Peach and Blossom last year have been located, and they were on their way to be processed. In other words, to be killed. But I have stopped that journey, and I am officially pardoning them. And they will not be served for Thanksgiving dinner. We saved them in the nick of time. This one has plenty of time, but they were saved in the nick of time.
Oh, man. President Trump with the jokes. But what's not a laughing matter, legal expert Jonathan Turley explains why Comey and James are not out of the woods yet, despite the cases being dismissed. Let's dive a little deeper. George Washington University Law School professor Jonathan Turley made clear Monday why former FBI Director James Comey and the New York Attorney General Letitia James are not fully out of legal jeopardy. Earlier in the day, U.S. District Judge Cameron Curry, a Bill Clinton appointee, ruled interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan was incorrectly appointed. Therefore, the indictments brought by her office against Comey and James were defective. All actions flowing from Ms. Halligan's defective appointment constitute unlawful exercise of executive power and must be set aside. What is this? All these pop-ups. I can't even read the article. Seriously? What a mess. Wow. Okay, Western Journal with the pop-ups there. Forget about it. Okay, let's go to Mike Davis instead with his message for James Comey and Big Tish.
To James.
I would say to James Comey, I've thought all along you're going to have Democrat judges colluding to protect the lawfare Democrats, to protect the deep states. Those were the appetizer indictments in the Eastern District of Virginia. Those appetizers got sent back because someone said that the appetizers weren't good enough, but they're going to come back. You're going to get appetizers shoved down your throat, James Comey and Big Tish James, and then you're going to have the main
probably
course
like
shoved
that.
down your. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're going to have the main course shoved down your throats with indictments in the Southern District of Florida for this lawfare and weaponization. I'm going to make damn sure that happens.
Yeah, see, the party's not over for them. The party is not over at all. There are other jurisdictions in play. Julie Kelly discussing the rogue judges on Real America's Voice with Steve Bannon.
Official branch, who is on. This is a direct result of Republicans in Congress doing nothing to rein in this rogue, out-of-control judicial branch, who is almost on a weekly basis encroaching on the executive branch's authority, separation of powers. I mean, to have a judge, and she's not the only judge who has said this Judge Curry, 77 years old, plucked out of South Carolina by the chief judge, an Obama appointee, I believe, chief judge of that circuit down there, to handle this case. So it took it out of the hands of the presiding judge in both instances. So she was picked solely to do exactly what she just did. And that is make up reasons why Lindsay Halligan's appointment was unlawful and that judges have the right to appoint a U.S. attorney in a district, in the circuit, where these same judges are working. So you're going to have, so there's no tension between the two branches. So you're saying that judges can appoint an executive branch position, a U.S. attorney, that completely violates the separation of powers and the will of the American people, who, for one reason of many, elected the president to stop this sort of lawfare. And these judges who are so demonstrably rogue and corrupt and partisan. So I think that everyone needs to keep pushing Republican leadership not to worry about the war in Ukraine, not to worry about all this palace drama or what, congressmen who are upset they're not getting enough respect from the president. Ridiculous. Just do your job. And one of them is to protect the Constitution. That's actually a sworn duty. Protect the Constitution and the separation of powers so these judges stop trying to overtake the role of the president, whether it is appointing U.S. attorneys or immigration law. So that's one thing that needs to happen.
Can we do that without? I mean, can this happen without?
Separation of powers issue. That's a new one. Here is AG Pam Bondi confirming the appeal is underway.
He said this matters. If I could just get your reaction to the James Comey, Letitia James cases being dropped today back in Washington. James Comey put out a video. He said this matters most because a message has to be sent. The President of the United States could not use the Department of Justice to target his political enemies. Your reaction to the cases being dropped into that specific message?
Sure, we'll be taking all available legal action, including an immediate appeal, to hold Letitia James and James Comey accountable for their unlawful conduct.
What is your reaction to his statement?
I'm going to keep going on this. I'm not worried about someone who has been charged with a very serious crime. His alleged actions were a betrayal of public trust.
If I could just get your reaction to
a betrayal of public trust, indeed. Oh, and it goes back so much further. Hans Monkey, how do you say that? 18 hours ago. The fact that Lindsay Halligan was left to handle all of this on her own was not a blunder. It was deliberate. She was set up to fail by the DOJ. That's where the focus belongs. They have zero interest in holding the deep state accountable. That is the core of the rot. An avoidable blunder, and the DOJ knew it. Here's David Schoen on Fox News with Laura Ingraham.
Great credit.
Some of the procedural stuff here is in question, but you say this was avoidable. How so?
It was avoidable because, quite frankly, the Justice Department should have just put somebody in the room with Lindsay Halligan and would have taken away all of the arguments for dismissal, quite frankly, based on all the decisions around the country. I still don't think the decision is right, but it was avoidable in that sense. I give Lindsay Halligan great credit, and she showed great courage here. She looked at the facts and the evidence. She saw that there was a wrong committed, and she got an indictment. She was put in this position, and she should have had more support than she was given. But it's not a major setback for the Trump administration or anything like that. It was obviously, it was going to happen. But I think they're wrong in the arguments for a couple of reasons. There's some pretty esteemed scholars, Steve Calabrese, Paul Cassell, who have explained why the courts just have it wrong with this. Professor Calabrese says this section of the law, 546, is unconstitutional. It invades the executive power. And he cites a couple of recent cases that talk about the exclusive executive power, and here to appoint a representative of the executive branch. Cassell says it's constitutional, but that the president has the right to appoint successive interim U.S. attorneys, or in this case, she could act as acting U.S. attorney. We see in the case in California with Bilal Asaili that he continued to go on as first assistant. So, again, I give great credit to Ms. Halligan. But the other point I would make here is this. These are public figures. First of all, the hypocrisy of the argument now, given the position these folks took with Jack Smith. But in any event, putting that aside, these are public figures. Why not deal with these cases on the merits? They're going to have to sooner or later because they will be reindicted. And if you read the Ms. James indictment carefully, and of course, everyone's entitled to the presumption of innocence, if you read it carefully, they have her coming and going if they can prove the allegations in the indictment. First, she claimed a secondary home, which means she has to have certain personal use days, 14 days a year. But in her tax schedule, according to the indictment at least, she said 0 personal days in the home. I would ask questions like, did she have an insurance policy? What did she put on her application? Did she make a claim? What was her capacity there? I think that case is going to be a slam dunk, quite frankly.
Letitia James, they have her dead to rights. Jack Posobiec weighing in on the judge tossing the James Comey and Letitia James indictments.
Put charges on the deep. Folks, I'm going to tell you right now. Did you think the system would save you? Did you think that you could just put charges on the deep state and the system would allow it? No. You have to understand how bad the situation is. You have to understand that in many cases, the judges, the attorneys, the prosecutors, they believe essentially the exact same political beliefs as Antifa. Okay? They fully are committed to this ideology. They are fully committed to believing that Donald Trump and anyone around Trump is invalid. Anything that he does is invalid. Anything that he wants is invalid. That he is, as Mondami said, a fascist and a despot. And you look at this order. All actions flowing from Miss Halligan's defective appointment, including the indictment against James and Comey, are therefore also invalid. This is what happens, ladies and gentlemen. This is a huge problem for, obviously, the United States. This is huge. By the way, this is a Clinton-appointed judge. So we're looking that up right now. Cameron McGowan Curry is the name of the judge, appointed by Bill Clinton.
So here's the gut punch. Hans spelled it out. Leaving Lindsay Halligan alone to handle the case was not a blunder. It was deliberate. She was set up to fail by the very agency tasked with administering justice. Deep state holdout rats burrowed deep within the DOJ did not want her to win. They wanted to protect their own. And that is the core of the rot. Until that rot is cut out, root and stem, the deep state will continue to operate above the law while everyday Americans are held to a different standard entirely. Now, the story matters because it reveals the two-tiered justice system yet again. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's operating in plain sight. James Comey lied under oath. Letitia James weaponized her office for political persecution. And when the moment came for accountability, the system closed ranks and protected them. A judge threw out the case, and the DOJ allegedly sabotaged its own prosecutor. The deep state walked free. But here's what they didn't count on. Pam Bondi filing an immediate appeal. Jonathan Turley warning it's not over, and millions of Americans who are paying attention and refusing to forget. So the fight truly has only just begun. So here's my question for you. Let's talk about it in the comment section. Do you believe the DOJ intentionally sabotaged the Comey and James prosecutions? Yes or no? Sound off below. If you want to stand with the truth, check out the Next News merch shop, linked below in the description. All right, folks, we are not done yet. We're going to be moving into our third topic. Damn, New York is... Dude. Anyway, let's see. We got here. Ruby Hoove, $10. Happy Thanksgiving, and happy Thanksgiving to you, Ruby. X Risky X, God bless all the Patriots, $2, and Ruby gave 10. Tom B420 coming back with a 10 spot. Thank you so much. American flag, we salute you. And Will for life, vigilante justice kids, and also has become a member. Right on. All right. For some reason, all your usernames are showing up. I'm not sure why that's happening. So I recognize some of your profile pictures. So I'm not getting your screen names correctly, but it's so confusing. Anyway, but we're at $106, so maybe we'll hit $150 tonight. Let's raise the stakes and keep this party going. Let's keep this party going. All right. earbud is just driving me nuts tonight. Okay. Imagine this. It's midnight. You're asleep in your home in a quiet New York neighborhood, and suddenly 50 cars flood your street, engines revving, tires screeching. Then comes the screaming. A mob is beating your neighbors in their own front yard. A car is on fire. You call 911, and they tell you to call 311. A quality of life team will handle it. That's not a dystopian movie. That's what happened this weekend in Queens. And what it reveals about who really controls American cities will absolutely floor you. So here's what's at stake. If the government won't protect you when a mob attacks your neighborhood, then what is the government for? In Malva, Queens, residents watched in horror as coordinated street takeover turned their block into a war zone. A couple beaten in front of their home. A private security guard tried to intervene. His car was torched. And when families called 911 begging for help, they were redirected to 311. Right? A 30-minute delay then followed. That's not a glitch. That's a policy. Councilwoman Vicky Palladino called it a planned attack, an organized strike by people from outside the district. It wasn't random chaos. It was a message. The streets belong to the mob now. And if New York won't protect its own citizens, what city's next? Well, cities like New York descend into chaos because politicians refuse to invest in law and order. The Trump administration just broke some news on something that actually builds America. Under Executive Order 1424-1, the White House just named the Palmer Project in Alaska as critical to our national security. Now, Vizsla Copper has acquired that project, an estimated $3.5 billion in-ground value containing copper, zinc, and silver vital for our military and energy grid. They're led by the same team that propelled Vizsla Silver to $1 billion valuation. When other Alaskan miners got government backing, shares shot up over 200%. The Palmer Project was just named in the government's report, and the market hasn't even priced it in yet. And Vizsla Copper is trading under ticker VCUFF domestically. Check the link in the description to find out more. But here's what makes the story even worse. This wasn't the first time Councilwoman Palladino confirmed these takeovers have happened before in her district. The city knows, the police know, and nothing changes. Reports from the New York Post, Zero Hedge, and Gothamist all confirmed the same detail. 911 redirected emergency calls to a bureaucratic complaint line while a violent assault was in progress. 50 cars, 100 participants, flames lighting up the night. A resident said she's fed up with the way New York has become. And the government's message to citizens was clear. You are on your own. Look at this picture. Here it is, New York. You voted for communism? Welcome to communism. Videos show wild neighborhood street takeover as violent mob pummels couple and burns a truck. Reports from New York Post, Zero Hedge, Gothamist indicate during the new November 23rd, 24th street takeover, Malva, Queens, 911 callers were directed to Quality of Life team via 311, resulting in 30-minute New York Police Department response delay. Spectrum News, New York 1. Here's the picture. See it on your screen. About 50 cars converge on a residential street, Malva, Queens, where a takeover led to a car being set on fire. 2 neighbors attacked. Suspects wanted for beating up resident 50 years old during Queen Street takeover. Here's some images of them. But of course, they are simply scholars and engineers that we have yet discovered. New York City councilman calls Queen Street takeover a planned attack after a couple beaten a car torched. Palladino speaking out after a violent mob took over the Queens neighborhood she represents, leaving a couple beaten. Planned attack, says Fox News. Here's some video. NYC run by criminals, says MJ Truth Ultra, and New York City thugs in illegal street takeover beat the shit out of a white couple for complaining about it in front of their home. Here. And that is just a taste of the chaos. Queens residents are furious this morning after a mob of black teens took over their street, beat white couple, set their car on fire for trying to stop the takeover.
We'll start hip hop. Michael? GTA 6. GTA 6. Whatever. 30v1. Oh, yeah, they want to get it on. Yo, get him off the property. That's all you. Hurry. Hurry. Cover your face. You want some rope? Chill. We'll start hip hop.
New York has fallen, my friends. It is over. It is over. I mean, the videos are just out of insane. Where are the police? Just driving in circles around a burning car. That video posted by the councilwoman Vicky Paldino. Here's another one. Fire department decides to finally show up.
And incarceration in the
we'll get to you, Brandon, in a minute. Hold your horses. Okay, so that's the car in the middle that was on fire. A security vehicle. They just torched it. Looks like he's pouring some kind of accelerant on it. And then the car goes up. That's New York City. Violent car meetup in Queens. Sunday morning, security car set on fire. Homeowner's arms in a sling after he got attacked by 5 to 10 of the 100 street takeover participants. What's Mondami's plan to stop this mayhem? Send in counselors? Taking a look over at Chicago from New York City. The El Salvadorian president, Bukele, bodying Brandon Johnson after the derelict Chicago mayor claimed we cannot incarcerate our way out of violence because it's racist. Bukele says, yes, you can literally incarcerate your way out of violence. That's precisely why incarceration exists in the first place.
Not the way to drive. We cannot incarcerate our way out of violence. We've already tried that, and we've ended up with the largest prison population in the world without solving the problems of crime and violence. The addiction on jails and incarceration in this country, we have moved past that. It is racist, it is immoral, it is unholy, and it is not the way to drive violence down. We cannot incarcerate our way out of violence.
Oh, man, that's the mindset. I mean, here's President Trump now weighing in. Remember that story we did about that young girl, 26 years old, burned alive on the Chicago Blue Line? She's now been identified as Bethany McGee. Here's the New York Post. Look at this. Beautiful young woman is now, I think she had like, what was it? Like 75% of her body. And we initially had reported that this thug here, the suspect, had 49 priors. Turns out he had 72 prior arrests. Here's President Trump on that.
We saw all the crime that took place last night, the night before. The woman with the burning, they burned the woman. To be talking about that now, they burned this beautiful woman riding in a train. A man was arrested 72 times. 72 times, think of that. And they'll let him out again. The liberal judges will let him out again. But we're ready to go. You know, we've been moving toward Chicago. We have a governor that thinks it's wonderful that only like 7 people were killed this week. But we are moving toward doing it, and we're going to, if crime gets, it's horrible what's happening in Chicago. We could make Chicago a safe city in a period of 4 weeks. In a period of 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks, it would be totally safe. And the people of Chicago want us to go there. And if you look at the crime that's taken place in Chicago in the last 2 weeks, just take a look. It's on the front page of every newspaper. It's out of control. The mayor is incompetent, and the governor is a big fat slob. He ought to invite us in, say, please make Chicago crime that's taken place in Chicago
that again.
In the last 2 weeks. Just take a look. It's on the front page of every newspaper. It's out of control. The mayor is incompetent, and the governor is a big fat slob. Newspaper. It's out of control. The mayor is incompetent, and the governor is a big fat slob. He ought to invite us in, say, please make Chicago safe. We're going to lose a great city if we don't do it quickly. Make Chicago. We'll do the same thing as we did in D.C., the same thing as we did everywhere we've gone. We saw all the crime that took place last night, the night before.
Oh, man.
The woman.
President Trump does not hold back. Elon Musk agreeing with him. The president is absolutely right. That woman should never have been attacked. And he also apparently agrees that Governor Pritzker is a big fat slob. So that's Chicago, New York. What else madness is happening? We're going to check in California. This is Gavin Newsom's California. Yeah, you see that? This was one of the bridges there. They took over an entire bridge. You can't even drive home without seeing a street takeover nowadays, and don't expect the police to do anything about it, as Gavin Newsom has them all handcuffed. Street takeovers occurring everywhere. They happen in Chicago, New York, California. And it's absolutely insane. So here's the gut punch. This is what happens when you vote for soft-on-crime politicians who believe policing is optional. This is what happens when the state sides with mobs instead of families. A homeowner now has his arm in a sling because he dared to object to criminals taking over his street. A security guard's car in ashes, and the city's response, call 311. New York isn't slipping, it's falling fast. Just as Chicago, California, into the kind of lawless chaos that we used to warn about years ago. 9/11, you call it, they don't answer. The mob does. Now, the story matters because it proves a very terrifying truth. In Democrat-run cities, law-abiding citizens are on their own. A quiet neighborhood in Queens becomes a war zone. A husband and wife beaten for defending their home, a car set ablaze, and when terrified families dialed 911, the system told them to call the complaint line. 30 minutes passed before police arrived. That's not incompetence, that's abandonment. Councilwoman Vicky Paldino called it exactly what it is, a planned attack, and she's right. These takeovers don't happen by accident. They're organized, they're repeated, and then they're tolerated by a political class that cares more about protecting criminals than protecting you. George Washington liberated New York City 242 years ago. What do you think he would say if he saw it now? My question for the comments, should residents have the right to defend their neighborhoods when police refuse to respond? Yes or no? Sound off below. If you want to support our work here, visit the merch shop linked in the description. Okay, we're at $126.98. We did raise the bar because we hit it so fast today, so we're looking at $150 today if you want to help us get there. We appreciate it, and some people already have stepped up to the plate. Brian, I have a question for you with respect to that last Zoom. I want to ask you, are you able to make it slower than you have it? Blink twice. Yes, please make it slower. It's too fast. Yeah. All right. Looks like we've got Mrs. Pothead Kenny coming in with a 5 spot. Want to wish our awesome friend Boyd a very happy belated birthday. Oh, happy birthday, Boyd. Didn't know it was your birthday. Tom B420 coming back with another $5 bill. What up, what up? Thank you. And $5 from Tom. And Wild Dina for life. Okay. I'm sometimes these I don't read them as well. Try that in Northern Arizona, kids. You'll meet your justice, he says. $10 right there. Oh, this stupid thing is just bothering the hell out of me today. Okay, let's see here. We'll put it here. And then I got a clip. Let's see. Put it here, and then we clip it down. Go 2 seconds slower. Okay. We want a nice dramatic zoom, Brian. That's the thing. Nice slow push on that final thought. That's the whole thing. Slow, dramatic. It helps bring up that final moment of the episode. Show me, Brian. Here, let's see Brian. Let's see if Brian got it right. Okay. All right. No, that's still too fast. It's got to be slower than that. Go 10 seconds. Let's see what 10 seconds looks like, Brian. Stop making excuses for the software. How far can you go? Okay, try 9. All right, let's see what 9 looks like. All right, punch it back. All right, punch it in. Look at that. Look at that. That's slow and dramatic. And look at that. What do you guys think? See? That's a little real-time production stuff right there. Get to see how it's all done behind the scenes on the raw feed. Okay. We got to go jump down to the border now. Biden's open border catastrophe. This thing is just annoying the crap out of me today. I got to figure out why. Maybe if I put it back in this part here. Okay. How about right there? See what happens. I keep fiddling with it because it like pulls on my ear, and then when I move, it just pops out. And that's okay. All right, enough about me. It's about you guys tonight. And America. America! Speaking of America, I saw Paul McCartney last night. That was actually really cool. And he came out on stage waving an American flag. That was pretty cool. Someone else waving a British flag, and then someone waving the state of Illinois flag, and then someone waving the transgender flag. I was like, I lean over to Angie, I go, what country is that from? Oh, man. What do you expect, though? Right? Okay. Let's go. Let's go. An 8-year-old girl is dead. Her name was Mora Gerety. She was crossing the street in Boise, Idaho, when an illegal immigrant driving a pickup truck ran her down. He should have never been in this country. He should never been behind that wheel. And now a family is shattered because the system failed. But that's just the beginning, unfortunately. What we're uncovering in this report, from secret sanctuary networks to deadly crashes to hidden shelters protecting lawbreakers, will show you exactly just how deep the crisis goes and why Democrats are finally running scared. Now, here's what's at stake. Every day, the border remains a revolving door. Americans die. Of course, this is all under the Biden administration, President Trump locking it down. But there are still millions of illegals still here in this country. Mora was only 8 years old. She had her whole life ahead of her. And now she's gone because Elvin Cavallero, a man in this country illegally, was allowed to drive and work and exist in a system that protected him instead of her. But the rot goes deeper than just that tragedy. In Charlotte, North Carolina, an after-school program suspended its operations the moment that federal agents arrived in the area. That's not sanctuary, that's obstruction. It's an underground railroad for lawbreakers embedded inside American institutions. And in California, Governor Gavin Newsom just canceled 17,000 commercial driver's licenses that were issued to illegal immigrants, but only after a string of deadly crashes forced his hand. How many people died before he acted? Now, before we move forward, I do want to speak directly to you, the people who watch this show and keep us going every single day. This time of year especially, we reflect on how grateful we are for this community. None of this is possible without you. Your encouragement, your comments, your prayers, and your support. The border crisis won't cover itself. The mainstream media won't tell these stories, but we will, because independent media matters now more than ever. If you'd like to help us keep fighting and keep producing and keep telling the truth, we deeply appreciate your support by giving with your heart at the link in the description, nnn.is/give. And if you can't donate, you can still help in a huge way. Share this video with someone who needs to hear the truth today, because we are thankful for you. But here's where the tide is turning. Operation Charlotte's Web, we've been talking about, delivered nearly 400 arrests in its first week alone. Federal commanders warned that there are a lot of bad people and bad things in Charlotte, and they're only getting started. In Tennessee, Attorney General Pam Bondi announced staggering results from the Memphis Safe Task Force. 3,100 arrests, 500 illegal weapons seized, and 121 missing children recovered. Governor Bill Lee confirmed murder rates have been cut in half, and the White House is making it clear. Airstrikes against narco-terrorists tied to the Maduro regime will continue. This is what happens when the government actually enforces the law. Here we have this. Just in. Trump's DHS blasting Oregon Democrats for giving illegal immigrants driver's licenses after one hit and killed an 8-year-old before fleeing the scene.
Tonight, this story is developing tonight. A tragedy in Idaho putting an Oregon law in the spotlight. Boise police are investigating a deadly crash that left an 8-year-old girl dead earlier this month. The alleged driver involved an undocumented immigrant from Honduras with an Oregon driver's license.
DHS says he was ordered removed from the U.S. in 2016 after missing an immigration hearing. K2's Thambi Verma joins us outside the DMV in downtown. Thambi, what do non-citizens have to show to get a driver's license?
So, Deb, think about it like it's the same for everybody. You don't have to prove you're a citizen. All you need to do is prove that you live here and, of course, that you pass all the tests. It's a law that countless Oregonians had protested for, the right for non-citizens to be able to obtain a driver's license. The Equal Access to Roads Act passed in 2019 and went into effect in 2021.
I don't want to target people, but come legally. You know, that's all that needs to happen.
Margot Logan testified against it.
The problem that I have is not so much with non-citizens, it's with the government and how the government performs or doesn't perform. And so I don't want this to be an attack on anybody. But we need to have laws. We need to have things be legal.
P. Coons, Oregon's farm workers union, testified in support of the law, saying in part, many farm worker families must often go above and beyond to plan their lives around transportation availability. Many of our workers spend at least $40 a week carpooling, taking away from an already low wage. They added, the lack of access to legally drive adds an unnecessary stress and barriers for families that are already trying their very best to survive. P. Coon was not available for an interview today. Representative Susan McLean, who was a co-chief sponsor of the bill, weighed in, saying in part, regardless of citizenship status, families in Oregon must be able to take their kids to school, visit their doctor, and go to work. All street users are safer when drivers are licensed and insured. We asked
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Tom Homan, this just in, going nuclear on Democrats launching the Master ICE Agent Tracker.
Everybody, and I'm going to keep, the bottom line is, if you support illegal immigration, then you support the criminal cartels of Mexico. Because no one crosses the border illegally without paying a plaza fee to the criminal cartels. And I'm going to remind everybody, and I'm going to keep reminding these Democrats, where were you the last 4 years? Well, we had over 10 million people come to our border. We had 250,000 Americans die from fentanyl coming across the open border. We had a record number of people from terrorist-sponsored countries coming across the border. Sex trafficking women and children are at a historic high. You let 500,000 children be smuggled in the United States. You lost track of 300,000. You weren't even looking for them. It's the Trump administration and President Trump's leadership where we've already found over 30,000 of them. We're not going to let them forget. You are complicit in the biggest national security failure, the biggest humanitarian failure in the history of this nation. So you can scream and yell and do all these apps you want, but we're not going to let you forget. You are complicit. You support illegal immigration, then you support criminal cartels in Mexico. And when they smuggle people, they smuggle guns, they smuggle dope. So that's who you're supporting. Illegal immigration is not a victimless crime. And if they don't know that, they're just simply ignorant.
Yeah. How do you think that Mora's family is feeling tonight? Oregon gave driver's license to a legal alien accused of killing 8-year-old Mora. U.S. District Judge Casey Pitts, a Biden nominee, has freed Brendan Monroe Thompson, A man pretending to be a woman who attempted to drive a U-Haul truck through a federal ICE agent blockade in Alameda, California. Remember this? Yep. That person is now walking the streets. Over in New Orleans, the police superintendent says, being in the country illegally is a civil issue, and we will not enforce civil law. However, crossing the border illegally is a crime under 8 U.S.C. 1325. It is not a civil issue. Democrats don't know the law. Yeah, looks like another diversity hire here.
Agency. Our confirmation from the judge that we are formally out of the consent decree, but along the way I have preferred to use the term that we've graduated. We have taken back our own ownership of our agency. To be in the country undocumented is civil issue. We will not enforce civil law, and so our support is to make sure they're not going to get hurt and our community is not in danger.
Yeah, just don't cross the street in Oregon if you're 8 years old. 10 hours ago, FBI Director Kash Patel reports the FBI arrested a violent protester out of Portland who allegedly threatened to murder officers and assault their families under Trump's order to counter domestic terrorism, organized political violence. We're working aggressively with all partners across the country to take these offenders off the streets. Portland protesters accused of threatening to kill officers and assault their wives at an ICE facility. Here is more on that 8-year-old girl. A vigil.
Sorry, I'm just going to the light at
8 years old, man. Didn't have to happen. It didn't have to happen. But Joe Biden's policies are helping it, making it happen. President Trump, a few hours ago in the Rose Garden.
Our border had 0 people coming in for the last 7 months, right? 0. I mean, even I find that hard to believe. They had millions and millions of people pour into our border from prisons, from mental institutions, gang members, drug dealers. They poured in to our country like we were stupid people. We're not stupid people anymore. But nobody's ever seen anything. The job that they've done on the Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, the whole group, the job they've done on the border is almost like a miracle. We have, and the people that make these statistics that said 0, they've said 0 for the last 7 months. I can't, it has to be like a few people got in, but they say 0. And they're radical left Democrats to do the scoring. So I can't imagine they did that for us. The truth is, we have no people coming into our country illegally. It's an amazing statistic, and I'm very proud of it. Our border had 0.
President Trump cleaning up the mess. Here's the press secretary 24 hours ago on the H-1B visas.
American workers.
Is it MAGA to support American workers being replaced with H-1B visa holders? Are Americans not capable of filling most of these positions?
Who supports getting American workers getting replaced?
I know the president mentioned that he wanted to bring in some workers that he could eventually send back in regards to...
The president does not support American workers being replaced. You are mischaracterizing what the president said. The president wants to see our American manufacturing industry be revitalized better than ever before. That's part of what he's doing with his effective use of tariffs and cutting good trade deals around the world. That's why he's recruited trillions and trillions of dollars in investments into our country. Those are creating good paying American jobs right here at home. As for the H-1B visa issue, the president has a very nuanced and common sense opinion on this issue. He wants to see if foreign companies are investing trillions of dollars in the United States of America, and they're bringing foreign workers with them to create very niche things like batteries. He wants to see that at the beginning to get those manufacturing facilities and those factories up and running. But ultimately, the president always wants to see American workers in those jobs. And he's told these foreign companies that are investing here, you better be hiring my people if you're going to be doing business in the United States. So there's been a lot of misunderstanding of the president's position.
Keep going. Here's the Pam Bondi. Talk about 3,100 arrests. Good Lord.
Of the U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi sharing the podium with two other members of the administration, along with Tennessee's governor and two state senators, praising the efforts of the Memphis Safe Streets Task Force just days before Thanksgiving.
You're not with your families. Many of you are not going to be with your families on Thanksgiving. And we are so grateful for your service and your sacrifice.
The event also marked the announcement of an effort to reduce crime in public housing called the HUD Crime Hotline, offered through the HUD Office of the Inspector General.
To report criminals, illegal aliens, sex offenders, human traffickers, and those guilty of gang activity, drug distribution, and fraud.
Dignitaries making note of more than 3,000 arrests, 500 illegal weapons seized, and 121 reported missing children located in the past 56 days.
Murder rates cut in half, and crime rates in Memphis at their lowest level in 20 years.
While Governor Lee did not address last week's order by a Nashville Chancery Court judge to block the use of the National Guard in Memphis, an order put on hold for 5 days allowing the state to appeal, Attorney General Bondi appeared to take exception to the judge's action.
Unfortunately, the safety of our community has been compromised by some judges who continue to obstruct our efforts. I wish they are all watching this, and I hope they're seeing what we're doing here in Memphis. We will not coddle violent criminals at the expense of law-abiding citizens.
Phew. It's always some radical activist judge stepping in. Hear this. Charlotte, North Carolina, after-school program suspends operations after it was exposed for shielding illegal aliens from federal agents. When agents approached the building, staff rushed to lock it down.
Had reports that ISIS. We need more assistance down those. Okay. At those entrances. Hi, Donald. This is Lily from Our Bridge. I'm just calling because we had reports that ISIS is probably on campus. We were wanting to see if we could make rounds. Inside, please.
This after-school program in East Charlotte has been a safe space for immigrant children.
Yes, in the front entrance.
But today there are reports that Customs and Border Patrol agents are approaching.
And I'd like people down at this entrance as well to just watch that door.
Staff rush to lock down the building.
They do not have the right to be on this. This is private property.
They say this is the second day in a row that immigration enforcement has showed up.
We're walking up right now to a TBP sighting here.
In a statement to the Times, the Department of Homeland Security stated it did not target a school or daycare and denied trying to enter or make any arrests near the building. Across Charlotte, more than 370 people have been arrested so far, sending large parts of the immigrant community here into hiding.
A lot of families, even regardless of legal status,
Oh my goodness, give me a break. You're going to lock down the whole place? And then we have this from Gavin Newsom, canceling 17,000 illegal immigrant commercial driver's licenses after a series of deadly accidents.
Chairman of... Did you hear the news? Gavin Newsom just caved in a big way to President Donald Trump on the issue of illegal immigration. I'm Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California and a California state representative. And this week, Newsom quietly canceled 17,000 commercial driver's licenses that his state inappropriately issued to illegal immigrants. You might have heard some of the tragedies that have occurred because illegal immigrants who are not properly licensed got into accidents and killed people across the country. The Trump administration threatened California that if they didn't clean up their mess, that they would revoke all commercial driver's licenses in the state. Well, guess what? Newsom conceded. And this comes at a time when Newsom is trying to be the alpha male against Trump, criticizing Democrats for reopening the government during the government shutdown. He's trying to pretend like he's a fighter when, in fact, Even Newsom this week caved in to Donald Trump. Good news. Did you hear the news? Gavin Newsom just caved in a big way to President.
But here's the bottom line. While illegal immigrants kill children in Idaho, while staff in Charlotte shut down operations to avoid federal agents, while blue states hand out licenses to unvetted drivers who cause deadly crashes, Trump's America is arresting them, deporting them, seizing their weapons, recovering missing children, and smashing cartel networks. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Every time Democrats shield illegal immigration, Americans die. Every time Trump acts, Americans live. This is no longer a debate. It's a national reckoning. The story matters because it proves what we've been saying for years. The border crisis isn't just at the border anymore. It's in Boise, where an 8-year-old girl was killed by an illegal alien. It's in Charlotte, where an after-school program shut down operations when federal agents arrived. It's in California, where 17,000 illegal immigrants had commercial driver's license until deadly crashes forced Newsom to act. It's in Memphis, where Trump's task force recovered 121 missing children in a matter of weeks. The system that let this happen didn't fail by accident. It was designed this way by politicians who valued illegal immigrants over American citizens. But now the tide is turning and the arrests are climbing. The networks are being exposed and the American people are watching. So here's my question for the comments. Let's talk about this. Should sanctuary cities lose all federal funding? Yes or no? Drop your answer below. Grab some merch at our merch shop on your way out. Man, that was a sad story, man. Oh, man, we got some more sad stuff ahead. What they're doing in these universities. Holy cow, man. Don't go anywhere. We got our last segment of the evening. Seeing what you guys are saying. Yes, 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 yes. A donut is a pretzel? What? I saw someone over there on Rumble. What's up, Rumble? Good to see you here. Okay. Let's go, Brian. A major American university is now teaching students that whiteness is a pandemic. Not a metaphor, not an exaggeration. Those are their words on their official website. University of Minnesota is telling white parents they must re-educate themselves and their children to cure what they call a radical infection that starts at birth. Your tax dollars are actually funding this. The National Institute of Mental Health helped pay for it. What's buried in this program will make you question everything you thought you knew about what's happening inside American higher education. Now, here's what's at stake. This is not some fringe professor ranting on social media. This is official university programming. Hosted by the Culture and Family Lab at the University of Minnesota Institute of Child Development. They have a page on their website titled Whiteness, the Whiteness Pandemic. It claims white families socialize children into racism from birth. It says parents must halt and reverse their own culture through anti-racist self-re-education. It links to materials from Ibram Kendi and Robin DiAngelo, and it tells families to join Black Lives Matter as part of the cure. This is taxpayer-funded ideological warfare aimed directly at American families and American children. If this stands at every public university, the country will follow. The classroom becomes the indoctrination center, and parents become the enemy. And some breaking news, while your tax dollars fund programs calling American families a disease, the Trump administration has just issued an executive order that is strengthening our nation. It's Executive Order 14241. 14241. The White House naming the Palmer Project in Alaska as critical to America's mineral independence. Now, Vizsla Copper has acquired that project, an estimated $3.5 billion in-ground value, containing copper and zinc and silver that are vital for our military and energy grid. Now, they're led by the same team that propelled Vizsla Silver to a $1 billion valuation. When other Alaskan miners got government backing, shares shot up over 200%. Now, the Palmer Project was just named in the government's report, and the market hasn't even priced it in yet. Vizsla Copper trades domestically under ticker VCUFF. You can find out more by going to the link in the description. But here's where it gets worse. This is not isolated. Netflix paid Ibram Kendi to produce a documentary condemning whiteness. Teachers in Michigan were forced to take assessments measuring their level of whiteness. Yeah, TikTok influencers claiming there's nothing to be proud of in being white, and that being pro-white equals being pro-violence. The University of Minnesota program tells parents that if they were socialized into whiteness, it's not their fault. But as adults, it's now their responsibility to self-reflect, reeducate, and engage in courageous anti-racist parenting. This is a coordinated campaign to reconstruct the American family from the inside out. Here it is from the libs of TikTok. University of Minnesota has a page on their website titled The Whiteness Pandemic, claiming white people have power and privilege and want to push anti-racism on their children. Also want you to join BLM. The Whiteness Pandemic at the University of Minnesota Culture and Family Lab. Practical resources for self-reflection to develop a healthy white racial identity. What is the Whiteness Pandemic? Well, shall we investigate a little bit further? Racism is an epidemic, according to the CDC in 2021, that can be considered a pandemic given its large cross-national proportion and spread. However, there is another pandemic, the Whiteness Pandemic. Whiteness refers to culture, not biology. The centuries-old culture of whiteness features colorblindness, passivity, and white fragility, which are all covert expressions of racism, common in the United States. Naming the Whiteness Pandemic shifts our gaze from the victims and effects of racism onto the systems that perpetrate and perpetuate racism, starting with the family system. I know it's hard for you to see. Maybe I'll try to get it a little closer for you here. At birth, it's at the bottom. At birth, young children growing up in white families begin to be socialized into the culture of whiteness, making the family system one of the most powerful systems involved in systemic racism. If you were born or raised in the United States, you have grown up in the Whiteness Pandemic at the top there. And you can play a role in halting and reversing this pandemic, especially if you are white, because of the power and privilege you hold in this racialized society. Who writes this shit? I can't even believe that's on a university website. Oh, I think we may have found out who wrote it. University of Minnesota pushing the Culture Family Lab. The professor behind the paper claims white parents need to reeducate. Is this the professor here? Institute of Child Development, driven to discover. Is this her? Man, she must have been treated poorly as a child or something. I don't know what's going on, but she got a lot of hate. How about we all just get along? Can we just do that? Live in harmony, love your neighbor, keep it simple. Just crack open the Bible, read some Proverbs, read some gospel. Let that soak in a little bit. But no, you can't read those books. Diversity means no white countries. Diversity means no white cities. Diversity means no white neighborhoods. Diversity means no white people. Pretty true. Sarah Partial Perry. We, defending guy, discovered that U of Minnesota's warning against whiteness pandemic, providing resources on how to halt and reverse the issue, among other insanities. The family system, one of the most powerful systems involved. Tuition is paying for this. Jonathan Turley, weighing in, says the University of Minnesota, where'd it go? Website moving from woke to delirious insomnia in a website message for people to fight the pandemic of whiteness. If you were socialized into the culture of whiteness, it's not your fault, but you have a responsibility now. Over here in Michigan, too. Look at this. Insurrection Barbie. This is back in September. Teachers in Michigan were forced to take tests to assess their level of whiteness.
Now coming forward, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Teachers in Michigan were allegedly forced to take tests assessing their level of whiteness. According to a whistleblower who was a public school teacher for 31 years in Governor Gretchen Whitmer's Mitten state, the testing was put in place by Democrat policies. She's now coming forward, accusing the state of racial profiling and taking part in ideological overreach. The tests were allegedly put in place to handle academic and behavioral struggles with black students, suggesting that the teacher's race was a factor in how the black students behaved. Teachers were reportedly told to stand in a circle and publicly rate their level of whiteness based on the test results. The exercise was meant to correlate how white a teacher was with their effectiveness in managing diverse classrooms, especially when it came to discipline referrals and student performance. The veteran teacher said that she had a higher rate of discipline referrals for black students in lower level math classes, which was criticized by the school, and she was told to reduce detentions and tardy referrals for certain racial groups. Administrators allegedly said that tardiness was culturally acceptable for some students, implying that disciplinary standards should vary by race. Because she couldn't handle the racially charged and degrading exercise, in her words, she resigned, frustrated that her effectiveness as a teacher was based on racial identity rather than merit. The Michigan's Department of Education or local school districts have yet to release a public statement affirming or denying the teacher's claims. In Dallas.
Oh, man. Do not send your kids to any public school institution. Kevin Blue writes, whiteness functions by establishing whiteness as a default norm, which grants certain advantages to white people while reinforcing racial hierarchies and contributing to the systematic disadvantage of black people.
Higher structure and origin of whiteness is white fragility operates in such a way that whiteness as a concept is as strong as polystyrene. If you criticize whiteness, it falls apart and attacks you, because the entire structure and origin of whiteness is rooted in the oppression of other people. Whiteness as a presence is cannibalistic in its nature. It steals, it colonizes, and it victimizes itself to maintain its status as both victim and oppressor. And if you want to see white supremacy in action, observe white women. That's all I'm going to say for now. White fragility operates in such a way.
What about all those white women that are going to all your rallies, though? Netflix paid Ibram Kendi to make a documentary condemning whiteness. Good God.
Personal. I don't think white people worldwide have really reckoned with how much their own personal identity is shaped by constructions of whiteness, and how much that construction of whiteness prevents white people from connecting to humanity. And of that, I don't think...
These people spend way too much time worrying about white suburban people. This TikTok influencer is out here claiming there's nothing to be proud of in being white. that being pro-white somehow equals being pro-violence, and even pushing the idea there's something inherently wrong with whiteness. It's a white guy.
Pro-human. I've been seeing white people pop up on one of my videos that's come back around for some reason, talking about, oh, I'm proud to be white. What the fuck are you proud of? This idea of being pro-white is pro-violence. That's it. There's no identity in whiteness outside of violence. You're either pro-violence or you're pro-human. You're pro-violence or you're pro-humanity. Especially right now, in this time of open, overt, violent white supremacy, sitting here trying to argue with me about how you're pro-white or some stupid shit like that. You're just pro-violence. And then you got the other end of the spectrum that's like, oh, boo-hoo, I hate being a white person, this, and that. Yeah, because you can see there's something inherently wrong with whiteness. Well, other people can say, like, black power or brown pride.
Oh, my God. Shut up, dude. I don't know, man. Where is this guy getting indoctrinated from? Oh, probably the University of Minnesota. Oh, man. The whiteness pandemic. It's all over. Oh, here we have it. Here she is. This is the University of Minnesota. This is the professor. We found her. Oh.
Or first, we posit that there is a whiteness pandemic behind the racism pandemic, and that this begins in the family system where young children are social.
Okay, look, there she is. Dr. Gail Ferguson, Culture and Family Life.
We posit that there is a whiteness pandemic behind the racism pandemic, and that this begins in the family system where young children are socialized into the culture of whiteness within white families. Our first recommendation is to remember that the whiteness pandemic is a pandemic. If you were born and raised in the United States, especially in a white family, then you've been raised in the pandemic, and you can play a role in halting and reversing this pandemic. We have two specific recommendations to that end. The first is for white parents to invest time in their own racial identity development through joining an organization like Showing Up for Racial Justice or your local BLM chapter. We posit that there is a whiteness pandemic behind the racism pandemic, and that this begins in the family system. Where
these people are teaching your kids. And here's the gut punch. This program was funded in part by the National Institute of Mental Health, a federal agency. Yes, your tax dollars built this. Watchdogs say this is DEI extremism repackaged to evade President Trump's crackdown on taxpayer-funded indoctrination. Parents, they call the program divisive and abusive. One says, bluntly, anti-whiteness is the real pandemic. The only cure is to stop the madness before it rewrites an entire generation. The University of Minnesota has just declared war on American families. The question is, will anyone fight back? Well, we're trying. Why does this story matter? Because it exposes the end game of the radical left, redefining American identity itself. A public university now teaching that white families are incubators of systemic racism, that children are infected with whiteness from birth, and that parents must undergo ideological re-education using materials from activists who've made millions demonizing half of the country. This is not education. This is cultural demolition funded by taxpayers and backed by federal grants. The University of Minnesota's Whiteness Pandemic program is a test case. If it succeeds, it spreads. Every public school, every daycare, every after-school program becomes a target for this ideology. And the American family, the foundation of our society, of human life, becomes the enemy of the state. President Trump's executive orders crack down on DEI, but this program proves the Hydra has many heads. Cut one off and another one grows back with a new name. So here's my question. Should federal funding be stripped from universities promoting anti-white ideology? Yes or no? Sound off below. And you can support our work here by visiting our merch shop in the description. We got something from Canada. Nitro Tem 888. The whiteness narrative comes directly from Hillary Clinton. Scripts are written in the Clinton offices. Hillary is leading the destruction of the American people and law based on the Bible. Okay. Oh, wow. So, that's it for the raw feed tonight. Let me leave you with this. What you have just witnessed was not 5 separate stories. It was actually one story told 5 different ways. The story of a country at war with itself and the forces trying to tear it apart from the inside. We started with these Seditious Six lawmakers, veterans who swore an oath to this nation, caught on camera, urging active duty troops to disobey the commander-in-chief. The Pentagon confirmed as the authority to recall Senator Mark Kelly to active duty and court-martial him. The FBI is scheduling interviews, and Ruben Gallego let slip that a script was distributed before the video ever aired. This wasn't a warning. It was a coordinated operation. Who sent the script? Then we watched the deep state protect its own. James Comey, Letitia James walking free after a Clinton-appointed judge threw out the charges, but the dismissal was not on the merits. Attorney General Pam Bondi announcing an immediate appeal. And then we learned the prosecutor, Lindsay Halligan, was left isolated and unsupported, sabotaged from within by the very agency that she worked for. The system didn't break, my friends. It worked exactly as it was designed. In New York City, we saw what happens when government abandoned its people. A mob of 50 cars invaded a quiet Queens neighborhood, a couple beaten in their own yard, a security guard's car was torched. When families called 911, they were told to dial 311. File a complaint. Nearly 30 minutes passed before police arrived. Councilwoman Palladino confirmed it was planned. And she's right. Down at the border, we mourned an 8-year-old girl, Mora Gerety, killed by an illegal immigrant who never should have been in this country. We exposed a sanctuary operation that shut down the moment federal agents arrived. And then we watched Gavin Newsom's cancel 17,000 commercial driver's licenses only after deadly crashes forced his hand. But the tide is turning. Operation Charlotte's Web delivered nearly 400 arrests. The Memphis Safe Task Force recovered 121 missing children. And the White House confirmed strikes against narco-terrorists will continue. And finally, we uncovered the Whiteness Pandemic, a taxpayer-funded program at the University of Minnesota declaring American families a public health emergency, telling parents to re-educate themselves and their children using materials from radical activists. Your tax dollars paid for this. The National Institute of Mental Health helped fund it. And if this stands, every university in America will certainly follow. 5 stories, 1 message. The institutions that were built to protect you have been captured by the people who despise you. But here's the good news. They're being exposed, and you're watching it happen in real time right here. So thank you to everyone who sent in super chats and rumble rants tonight. You keep this show alive. Tell your friends about the raw feed. Hit up our merch shop in the description, and we'll see you all on the next show. Stay free, America, and good night.